This is one of my favourite trees. Look how furry it is, you could actually stroke it. It's a yellow-barked acacia, and I planted it about 10 years ago. I'm in Karen, on the outskirts of Nairobi in Kenya, and this acacia is one of more than 50 trees that we planted over the years we lived here. Acacias, crotons, grevilleas, there's even a former pot plant that's grown into a full-blown rubber tree. So why am I showing you all these trees? Well, I'm hoping that one of them is going to help me answer a nagging question. You see, it's not just they're beautiful, they're also a vital weapon in the battle against climate change. Or are they? We're being encouraged to cut our greenhouse gas emissions, and we're also being cajoled to offset what we can't cut, hence the term net zero. Programs are popping up that offer an easy way out. You pay us, and we'll plant trees on your behalf. It's becoming big business. And it seems like a good idea. Trees absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen back into the atmosphere. The Earth's forests have kept our atmosphere in balance. That is, until our addiction to fossil fuels pumped out more CO2 than they can handle. And until we cut down so many forests, their absorbent capacity has been drastically reduced. But how much carbon does a tree really sequester? Can tree planting really reverse climate change? And is tree planting a valid means of offsetting your own emissions? There are many variables to take into account: species, growth rate, survival rate, seasonality, and published figures are hard to come by. So let's go back to first principles and work it out for ourselves. My sample tree is a Croton megalocarpus. It's about 10 years old with a long way still to grow. It measures 15 meters tall and an even 20 centimeters in diameter for much of its height. To work out the amount of embedded carbon, we'll need to calculate the actual weight of the tree. First, we have to work out the volume of wood, using a formula πr² for the area and multiplied that by the height. In this case, it comes to 0.47 cubic meters. Then we multiply by the density of acacia wood, as given by the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization. I'm going to use a figure of 500 kilograms per cubic meter so as not to overestimate. Then we'll add 20% for the roots and branches, which gives a weight for our tree of 282 kilograms. Now we need to deduct 30% for the water content, and since wood is made of cellulose, we account for 50% of its dry weight being carbon. Finally, we multiply that by 3.67, the molecular weight of carbon dioxide, to give a final tally of 363 kilograms of carbon dioxide. I've compared these tropical trees with a 15-year-old English hawthorn and a 108-year-old Scots pine. I'll put it all in a spreadsheet. The results are not wildly different. Conservatively, we can use the figure of 30 kilograms per year. Average emissions from a British household are reckoned to be 10 to 13 tons of CO2 equivalent per person per year. So to fully offset that, I'd need to plant, and see through to maturity, 300 to 400 trees. A round trip by air, London to Nairobi, emits 2.2 tons of CO2 equivalent. So to offset that, I would need to have planted 60 or 70 trees every time I flew. My African garden contains about 50 mature trees, planted over 25 years. I thought I was doing well, but I've not offset even one single flight. My trees hardly put a dent in our emissions. I'd need another 10 acres or more just to get close. So my beautiful trees are just that, beautiful trees. As an offsetting mechanism, tree planting just doesn't stack up. In any case, it's just as important for both nature and carbon dioxide absorption that we preserve open grassland savanna, wetlands, and ocean habitats. It's not only trees, grass, shrubs, the soil itself, all do the work, and they're all important components in our ecosystems. Tree planting is, however, great for restoring landscapes and for promoting biodiversity. But here in Kenya, as in many parts of the world, the rate of tree planting is overshadowed by the pace of destruction, road building, shopping malls, towns and cities. Here on Google Earth you can see our little suburb, nicely covered in trees, and just down into the valley a massive new urbanisation astride the course of a newly built railway line. In the UK, new housing estates are popping up on rural land all over the country. Infrastructure projects are taking the place of our farmlands and ancient woods. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by this breaking wave of humanity crashing onto the shores of destruction. We've a long way to go to stem that tide, let alone reverse it. In any case, large-scale tree planting is too often a sterile monoculture that does nothing for nature. We seem to have our priorities back to front. If deforestation were to be halted, we wouldn't need to worry about planting trees. So, planting trees? Great. For restoring biodiversity? Absolutely vital. We need our woodlands and natural spaces for our health and our sanity. But as for offsetting your emissions, the numbers just don't add up. Far better not to cut them down in the first place. I'm Steve Shelley, and this has been one of my Climate Insights.